Welcome to Inside City Hall. I'm your host, Mayor Seymore, and our guests today are Deputy City Clerk Tamara Reedhead and Administrative Service Director Justin Johnson. Welcome, Tamara.
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us, Justin. Thanks
Mayor.
for being here. You know, it's kind of fun out. Things are exciting. It's going to rain. It's going to have fun. But we got elections, right? So
We do.
Tell us about what's going to happen this fall. We have an election coming up.
Okay. First of all, state election laws, which took effect in 2014, combined regular city elections with federal, state, and county elections, so in the fall of even-numbered years. So this election will be a polling place election, and Show Low voters can either vote at the City Campus Gymnasium on East McNeil or the Navajo County Health Services building on 9th Place. Voters will need to present identification in order to receive a ballot. And however, those that prefer to vote by mail can do that. They have to request an early ballot by calling Navajo County by August 19th at their 800 number, which is 800-668-3867. Now, our council members are nonpartisan, which means that they do not declare.
We're totally nonpartisan. We don't follow either party, right?
Right. No party affiliation. And so their names will appear at the end of the ballot after all other races. And another thing is Arizona is an open primary state, which means that voters who have registered as independents can or who have not designated a political party on their registration form can still vote. All they have to do is call Navajo County Voter Registration by August 19th to request a primary ballot, and they can specify Democrat, Republican, Green Party, or they can ask for a city-only ballot if that's their preference. The city-only ballot obviously will only include Show Low council and mayor races and the ballot proposition.
Okay. Now, this election is going to be August 30th. And you've shared with us, where they can go to vote and everything that way. Is it still time to register to vote, or are we past that?
Well, it's too late to register to vote for the primary,
okay,
unfortunately. But if people would like to register for to vote in the general election, which is November 8th, they can do so, but it has to be done by October 10th.
Okay.
Now, those that want to register, if they have changed their physical address or changed their name, maybe because of marriage or divorce, or if they want to change their party affiliation, they have to re-register. And we do have registration forms available at City Hall.
Okay. What will there be a general election? Any of these items that we have, will it be going to a general election at all?
Well, it depends on what happens at the primary. State law provides for a method to calculate the votes and determine who the winner is, or who the winners are. But obviously the mayor's seat, we only have one person running for mayor, running unopposed, so that seat will be filled at the primary election. And then the ballot proposition, which Justin will explain here in a little more detail, that will also be decided at the primary.
And that's Proposition 407, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so that will be decided. Can voters learn more about the ballot propositions and the candidates? Where do they find out more about that?
Yes, we have a city quarterly newsletter that was mailed out in the July utility bills that has some information, an article about the elections, and we have extra copies available at City Hall for those who might still need one. But let me tell you who the candidates are that are running.
Okay.
We have 3 council seats and a mayor's seat up for the standard 4-year terms, in addition to the ballot proposition. We have 5 candidates running for 3 seats, for 3 council seats. We have incumbent council members Rennie Crittenden, Connie Kukavas, and Jean Kelly. And then we have newcomers Mike Bosley and William Thomas. And of course, you're running unopposed for the mayor's seat. Proposition 407 will ask the voters to consider permanently adjusting the city's expenditure or spending base, and that's what's on the ballot.
That's great. That's great. Well, I think you've helped us understand a little bit. It's different because normally we've had this election, in the springtime, and now it's going to always be in the fall, hopefully.
Correct.
I remember 4 years ago, my term was extended 6 months because of the length of the change of when we were seated and things that way. Most of the council members are a little longer term, so that's great. Anything else you want to add?
I believe that's it.
All right, Tamara, appreciate it. Justin, we got Proposition 407 that we need to talk about, and what is going to be the permanent base adjustment. Why is this going to be a measure on the ballot, and what exactly is the change here or the requested change?
Yeah, so Proposition 407 is a a permanent base adjustment, and what we're asking the voters to consider is an adjustment to the expenditure limitation that was established in 1980, and we're asking them to increase the expenditure base by $4.5 million. And what that does is it makes our expenditure more reasonable for today's dollars and today's times and the things we have going on at the city. And it will basically give a permanent adjustment to a number that was set back in 1980 based on the voters asking for that to be put out.
Okay. Why does it take a voter approval to do so?
Yeah, so when the voters statewide put this measure in place back in the early 80s, late 70s, they set it as a permanent fixture, but the state has since come forward with some alternatives to allow cities to make adjustments, realizing that in some cases cities need a different number than was set forth in 1980. So in order to make that change, the voters have to approve the new number as well as they did the old number.
Right. So, our city basically has changed from 1979, 1980, the two sides of it. Now, is this a tax? Is there going to be any charges to the community if they voted in favor of this? Would it impose any different taxes?
The taxes will stay the same. What this proposition will do is it will allow the city to spend the tax dollars that it's already collecting. So there's absolutely no change to the tax collections.
So people have to understand it strictly has to do with their spending, still staying within a balanced budget that we have always stayed with, and being able to be fiscally conservative going forward.
That's correct.
Okay. One of the things that it will change, though, let's say that we wanted to institute a new tax. Maybe we wanted to institute a property tax or some other tax in the community. With a yes vote on this, that would also change. The council would have to then have a different type of approval rate, would they not, on any new taxes going forward?
Yeah, so there are two items that will be included in Proposition 407. One is that any future tax increase would have to be approved by 75% of the sitting council members, so a majority vote, which would be 6 out of the 7, I believe.
Supermajority.
Yeah, supermajority. And then the other item is that the city must always maintain $1 million reserve moving forward from this election. And just to give the residents an update on that, we're currently around $2.8 million in reserve in the general fund. So we've well exceeded that minimum requirement, but it is included in the proposition measure.
Continue to go forward there. Will, what are the consequences, of a yes vote? Did the public see any different? Otherwise, it just allows us to balance our budgets, continue like we have been going forward. We wouldn't change hardly anything if this was approved, would we?
No, we don't expect any changes. If it's approved, we would be able to deliver a balanced budget, and the council would have control to maintain their conservative approach to the budget, and would still be required to deliver a balanced budget to the state each year when we vote to approve the budget.
Okay. And then are there some consequences of a no vote?
The impact of a no vote would potentially take us back to the 1980 numbers based on or allowing for a population and inflation adjustment, but the impact to the budget is going to be in the $50 million range. So the city could potentially have $50 million less to spend because we wouldn't have access to those funds that have been collected.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with spending more money. It just strictly has to do with being able to spend what we do take in and we would always still have to remain a balanced budget.
That's correct. And in addition to that, if you look at the city's history with the budget, we've always underspent the budget. We save for capital projects, and I feel like we have a good conservative approach, and this measure, this proposition will allow us to continue what we've been doing.
What are some of the things that we have done, you know, on our budget, some of the capital items that we have spent recently?
So we're pretty close to wrapping up our wastewater treatment plant. They're on 6th Street, and that was a big project for the city, so that's one capital item that we're finishing up. As usual, we spend quite a bit on our streets and infrastructure. We're spending about $4 million in our fiscal year 17 budget, which started July 1st of this year. We're looking at doing some work on our public safety building that was purchased there on the Deuce of Clubs, and that's about a $5 million budget for those improvements. And then we've got general operations at about $500,000, community services $350,000, and then as usual we have $250,000 as council contingency. So as we're progressing through the year, if unforeseen items come up, the council has some discretion to spend some money and maybe handle things that we didn't address with our budget planning.
Okay. So the other things that we do, have we paid off any debt early in our budget planning and things going forward?
Yes, with our successful fiscal year 16 budget, we were able to make some accommodations to pay off in 17 one of our WIFA loan payments, and it was for a manhole replacement project that was done. We were able to pay that off over 10 years early with the way the budget was managed by the council this year.
Okay, great. You know, I appreciate what you guys have done on putting a budget together and things that we have. Like you said, you know, I've been on the council for 12 years and I've never seen us spend what we have budgeted for the year ever. We've always underspent that. And what is our current budget this year going forward? We just adopted.
Yes, so our current budget is $52.3 million. It's about $7 million than last year's budget, which I would like to point out just so the residents know that we're not continually increasing the budget every year. We are going to have some increases based on large capital projects and things that are going on in the city, but it's not a constant increase. It's up and down depending on what projects we have identified for that year.
I think if we really took a measure of what we've actually spent over the years and our trend, it has always been well below our budget that we have come up with. And it's great. And so right now, you know, we have that coming up. It's one of those things that it's hard for people to understand. It is change, but at the same time, it has some really good impacts for our community. It's bringing us up to the times on Prop 407 from being stuck back in 1979, 1980, something that was passed, to be able to still maintain local control too. One of the things that we fight always as a community, we lose a little bit of our local control to state, to the federal government, different things that they're always trying to take from us. You know, just our state shared revenues the last few years were rated by the state, and then little by little they've been given back. But you know, it's always hard to balance our budget, but we always do. They don't have to have the same fiscal conservative or the same approach of balancing their budget. So we just encourage people to learn what the pros and cons are of this initiative and to get out and vote one way or another for it. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I would just echo what you had mentioned. We would like people to be educated and feel comfortable voting on this, so they don't show up to the polls and not vote or vote no because they don't understand it. If they would like, they can call me at City Hall. Just call the main number and they can transfer you into my department, and I can sit down with you, or we can talk over the phone. We have information that can be emailed as well. So just want people to be comfortable and educated, that they know what they're voting for.
That's great. Well, we appreciate it. Appreciate you guys being here today with us. Thank you for joining us on Inside City Hall today, and we hope that you have a great day.